Hello, soul family. This is Kamara with Rooted Futures. How are you? So, today's pick a card. I am trying to be more creative with these pick a cards so that you don't have to keep searching the web for something different when you have readings. And so, this reading is going to be on your villain origin story. What was your villain origin story? What is it that made you cling to some kind of wound that you have been carrying around for a while? And maybe this is a wound you've been trying to heal. Maybe this is a wound that you've already healed. But this is going to tell the origin story of that wounding, whether it happened in this life or a past life. And it's also going to give you spirit's advice for healing this wound that potentially can be your villain origin story. So I hope that makes sense. I feel like it's going to be fun. As I was picking the cards, I wasn't really looking at all of them, but as I was getting the different groups together, I was getting so excited. This is exciting, you all. So your villain origin story, it's going to start with one of these cards. And these cards are from the Many Things deck, which I didn't even realize was not an oracle deck. It was one of those game playing decks, which made it very exciting when I got that. So group number one, your origin story starts with the key. And if you want me to read it, it says, gain a rare magic weapon with which you are proficient. Gain a rare magic weapon in which you are proficient with this key. Group number two, you are the rogue. And at the bottom it says, a non-player character becomes hostile to you. The identity of this new enemy is unknown until they or someone else reveals it. That's group number two. And group number three, you have the Shroud. And the Shroud says you instantly lose all memories of your past. You retain all your skills, however, the levels and abilities. You may only recover your memories through a wish or divine intervention. So this is the Shroud, and that's group number three. So take a moment and see if you already connect with a origin story, or if you're just fascinated by what was said, or maybe the illustration. But we're gonna get to group number one right now. And just really quick, I want to thank you all for following and joining me on this YouTube channel. I'm producing more content and I really appreciate the connection. So yeah, pick your group and the timestamps will be below. Thank you. Hello, group number one. How are you? Thank you so much for joining me in this pick a card. I know it's new, I know it's different, but we are going to dive into your villain origin story. Now, it doesn't mean that you are a villain, but it does mean that maybe you have some wounds that would take you directly, that would just bridge you right over to that villain. Like if you didn't care, if you wanted revenge, this would be that exploration. So, I thought this would be not only a fun reading to do, but it also would give you some insights to your character, and also Spirit's wisdom is thrown in there as well. So you chose the key, group number one, and this key says that you will gain a rare magic weapon in which you are proficient. So immediately what I get here, group number one, is that this key, something that either in this life or maybe even in a more recent past life, you inherited some knowledge or some wisdom in which you realized you already had the skills and the know-how to implement this knowledge, to implement this wisdom. Now, how did that come about? Okay, so I'm seeing what Spirit is saying is it has to do with a past life. Now, one thing that I am getting, because Spirit's kind of correcting me as I'm as I'm talking, Spirit is saying it's not that you received an inheritance. Yes, in one past life, you definitely received this knowledge and you were taught these skills, group number one. But what Spirit is saying is that in a past life, you had a very powerful ability. And this powerful ability was not only was it recorded, it was stored away because it was so powerful. Only a few people were trusted with this knowledge and this wisdom, group number one. And you were one of them. So you gained this information, which I'm getting was for the good of all, but it was so powerful that only a few people kept it safe. You know, it wasn't meant to get out to people who were not that developed, because you could see this knowledge being used for harm, group number one. It's very interesting. Like, I'm getting a sense that some of you in a past life were part of a small order of spiritualists that kept this information sacred, that kept it a secret, and that you all held the key to that information. You were part of a group that held the key to that information, group number one. Now, what's interesting here is that the lesson, let's bring out the oracle cards here. The lesson that you had to learn from having this wisdom and being a gatekeeper of this wisdom was, and you have this Pentacle card here, it was that it put you at a certain, it put you at the top of a hierarchy, group number one. You were part of a spiritual hierarchy, meaning that you and whoever else were keepers of this knowledge, you were elevated. Your status in society was elevated. You were part of these knowledge keepers, and you were granted a lot of freedoms because of this knowledge you had. Maybe a lot of popularity, a lot of visibility. And in terms of the lesson that's coming through from that is that this somehow, you being elevated at that level or being part of this hierarchy, group number one, something happened around there. Let's take another look. We're going to go through all the cards and the tarot. So this card, this is so deep, you all. This card is supposed to be your identity. And you have the Hermit. Deep. You see how both of these characters, group number one, their eyes are closed? It's really speaking to how deeply spiritual you were. This says retreat and recharge, but I'm just looking at, you were an ascetic. That's really like one of those deeply devoted spiritual people. You were deeply devoted to your work. There was nothing that came between you and spirit. This is what I'm hearing, group number one. You were so deeply devoted to the study, the research, developing your inner wisdom. Now let's look at your characteristics here. You've got this Hermit, the Addict, the Gossip, and the Healer. We're not doing reverses on this. Whew, interesting. So group number one, this could be, now you might want to interchange the timeline. What I'm kind of feeling like is that some of this goes to the past life and some of this will also go to your current life. Like, what is the bridge? So let's go to your character first before we go to the current life and how it's impacting your current life. So as this hermit, you were very concerned about helping people who suffered from addictive behaviors. In your past life, you did a lot of advocacy for people who had some kind of condition. That could be anything. Based on the timeline, it would be, anything. Like maybe back in the day, you were in Asia when the opium wars were happening. Maybe you were back in the day, it couldn't have been that far. Like sometimes you were trying to prevent drug trafficking, or, like there's something here about, now Spirit is also saying that this addict, don't take it too literal. Like you might have just been helping people to become more self-aware, group number one, like you were a spiritual teacher. You were helping them break patterns that they have, which are often, when we're having a mental health patterns, they're often addictive, and so you were helping people, maybe through meditation, helping them to go within. You were helping them deal with whatever addictions they may have had, or some I'm hearing mental health conditions they may have had. Now, the reason why is the gossip card. It's kind of like you were passing along teachings, information. You were trying to make this available throughout the community. What would help people stop their suffering? And these teachings that you were trusted with, you would bring them to the community and you would teach bits and pieces of them and help the community to develop and grow. There was a lot of talk about your methods and your teachings. Some people were very concerned about the power you had in the community, because you really affected change, group number one. You had the ear of the people, which means like in a community, I'm seeing that you were a community leader. You had the ear of the people. Not only that, but you were helping people heal themselves. You were helping people get over addictive behaviors that were keeping them in poverty, that were keeping them suffering. And so you were very much perceived as a healer. Not, even though you were a leader, you were very much perceived as a brilliant healer. Even in this card, you will see, group number one, that the person's doing like some kind of energy work. And that's what I'm getting. Like you had the key to some kind of method or modality that would help end people's suffering. And you facilitated that healing through a meditative, like really ascetic process. You were a deeply powerful and spiritual person, group number one. I see that. Now, let's go to the history around this villain origin story. Like what happened to bring you into a wound, into an origin story? So we have 10 of Wands here upright. We have 6 of Cups in reverse. And we have 5 of Cups upright. Or it might be in reverse. Depends how you look at it. You worked really hard much a humble servant of this work, group number 1. I'm still talking about the past life here. So this past life was very strong. You were very humble. You can see this person's like not even really wearing shoes. They're doing a lot of work. They're hauling stuff. This 10 of Wands. A lot of your hard work paid off, because you would spend time, I'm seeing it, Spirit is showing me, you would spend time going, if you lived in a rural area, you were going village to village and spreading this knowledge, spreading this wisdom, helping people relieve their suffering. But I also see here 6 of Cups. And then you have 5 of Cups here. I get a sense here, group number 1, while you did so much great work, while you were selfless in so many ways, you weren't able to reach the ones closest to you. I get a sense that you had a child, group number 1, or some young person that you were responsible for, I'm getting in this part of the past life story. There was something you couldn't affect change around, and this child is in the center of it. Whether you just were so dedicated to your work and this is your own child in the past that you weren't able to be there for the child like you wanted to be because of the work that you were doing. And I also see, like, if you had a partner or a spouse, this is very specific, but if you had a partner or a spouse, that person also felt alone. Like your family, your immediate family somehow suffered. This is interesting, group number 1. So the beginning of this villain origin story starts somewhere with your family and your work. Like there's some kind of conflict that happens. Now this card is going to share with you exactly what is your villain kryptonite. So you start to have a wound around this family relationships are not going well. Even though you're making many sacrifices, maybe for your family that was too much. Your kryptonite. You wish you were born enough. Wow. Group number 1, enough. I get that in this past life, group number 1, you were so dedicated. That's all I really can't even express the word about how dedicated you were to these teachings, this knowledge, this wisdom. It felt very much like you weren't sure why you were chosen. You had this family, you had a lot of other responsibilities, but it felt like Spirit chose you for this work. And there was something that always made you feel like you weren't enough. You weren't the right person. You weren't wise enough. You were just like a regular householder. You know, we use that word householder in certain traditions. That means like you're like a family person. You couldn't figure that out. And in many ways, you always suffered from feeling like you were failing at this mission. Although I get a sense you were never failing, but there was something about not having your family relationships feel good, it felt like you were never enough. It felt like you could never do enough for your family to prove that you were there for them and love them. And it felt like there was never enough time for you to do the work that you had to do. It was always like you were traveling here and there. You were spreading this wisdom here and there. Pretty deep. Pretty deep, group number 1. So let's go to the tarot, because there's something here, group number 1. You were such a compassionate person, but I think with your family something happened. What happened, Spirit? What happened to create this wound and create this villain? You got the 5 of Cups in reverse. You've got the 2 of Cups in reverse. I think I'm seeing what happened, group number 1. The Devil. So your villain origin story really is one that's pretty common in some senses, group number 1. I think your heart was broken by your spouse. Your spouse, I think this spouse very much felt like abandoned, felt alone, felt like maybe they just felt like you weren't there for their family, your family. And I think in the end, while you wanted to make up for it, this spouse ended up leaving you. They could have had an affair, but I really see that they took their cup back. So I'm not sure what happened with the spouse. I don't want to say they had an affair, but this Devil card is saying that they probably did. So it was heartbreak, group number 1. Good old-fashioned heartbreak from a third-party situation. This card wants to come out too. Ace of Swords. Yeah. I think what Spirit is saying with this Ace of Swords in reverse is that it was something that it's kind of severed you from your work. Once you found out about your partner and the affair and the third party, it cut you off from the work you were doing. It cut you off from your mission, from your work, because you felt like you failed. You failed your family. I felt like there's a lot of like self-blame here. Now, how does this bridge into your current life, group number 1? Let's see. How does this bridge into your current life? Well, I could tell you right now, group number 1, you may have, not everyone, but some people may have experienced patterns where partners have third parties, have affairs. You may also be a person in this current life who overworks, workaholic, and that is something that's impacting your most intimate relationships. Yeah. You're always on the go, always doing things. Always, you know, 8 of Wands can also give like a little bit of an anxious vibe. The moon is showing up here too. So Yeah, there's a lot that's hidden from you. You often might find that you're not finding out about affairs until after the fact. You've got the Queen of Pentacles here too. Some of you may have found out about a partner's affair right when you were pregnant. Right when you were getting ready to give birth, you might have found out about a partner's affair. And again, this key, this wisdom, this knowledge, it's something inside of you that you are here to do. It's your purpose. And it's carried over from lifetimes. But what I'm seeing right now, group number one, is that you have to reconnect with it. You have to break the cycle of being this victim or villain. And that's a victim of infidelity. Trust me, it can seem like a huge pattern, especially for some of you. I'm hearing you've experienced a partner cheating more than one time, you know, different partners. So yeah, group number one. What I will say is this last card is going to be Spirit's advice. Protect yourself. Protect yourself. Call back your power, it says. Cut cords. Do soul retrieval. Now, this is really deep, group number one, because I think that there was some kind of power loss here from the past that had to do with this infidelity. And whatever's happening in your current life, if you found out about a partner cheating or, you know, having interest in someone else, I think, again, Spirit is saying that you need to fix this pattern. You need to cut off this pattern. So there's something that there's work that you need to do in terms of identifying a partner that supports your work, that supports your mission, your purpose, group number one. So that's one thing that Spirit is saying that you need to protect yourself from. Protect yourself. Protection doesn't, Spirit is showing me protection doesn't necessarily mean like you're going out and protecting yourself with a weapon. It's more of like protect your interests, protect your heart. And so Spirit is saying that it's very critical that you learn how to identify the right partner, the right friends. But also in those relationships that have proven that they are not loyal to you, you need to cut the cords, group number one. You need to clear out the debris of like old, old friendships that you've outgrown, so that you can bring in things that are new. I heard friendships, but I also hearing partners too. Like, stop letting people be kind of your friend after you've broken up, or letting people, still doing things for people that have proven that they don't have your back or not supportive of you. There's a way in which I think you're being pointed, group one, to clean house, clear up everything so that you can do that soul retrieval to reconnect with your purpose. Your purpose is there. And so for some of you, and I'm going to be doing another reading later this week with the Akashic Records, but for many of you, group number one, you're going to need to reconnect with your Akashic Records, find out what that purpose is, and reconnect. Some of you may already know what it is. Like, I'm seeing some of you are a master yoga teacher or energy worker or a psychic, but some of you who aren't in those fields, you also have something very important to do. It might be around, I'm hearing for some of you, it's like an engineering project, or there's something that scientific even. There's something that you all need to do, which is critical for world growth, critical for world evolution. And there's something here about your personal relationships always kind of cutting you off from resuming the critical work that you have to do in this lifetime. So group number one, I hope that was enlightening. I really liked this particular reading, but I hope that you got it and followed it. But yeah, this is how your origin story, your villain origin story can be healed. Like, what was its origins? How can it be healed? How can you change the pattern? So let me know if you resonated with this in the comments below. And if you have other suggestions for a reading, let me know. I appreciate if you follow. If you like this channel, follow and subscribe and click that bell to get notifications. And yeah, this is where I leave you. Take care. Thank you for joining me. Hello, group number 2. Thank you for coming to this reading. I know that it's different, it's odd, but we are talking about your villain origin story. Like, if there was, and not saying you're a villain now, but if you chose to go that route, if you chose, what would be the reasons behind it? What are some of the wounds? What are some of the things that you've had to deal with, whether in a past life or this present life, that would bring you out into your villain nature? Now, and also, what does Spirit want you to know about these wounds? What does Spirit suggest in terms of navigating or healing these wounds? We're going to find out. So thank you for joining me, group number 2. So this Rogue card that you chose, let me read it because it's very interesting. This is a gaming card. I didn't even realize the deck was that way until I got it in my possession, but I'm fascinated by it. So it says here, Rogue, a non-player character becomes hostile to you. The identity of this new enemy is unknown until they or someone else reveals it. So right away, what I'm getting, group number 2, is that you you were the recipient of some shade. And maybe this has been shade in the sense of, like, you're not even sure who's throwing the shade at you. Very much you feel like you have a hidden enemy. And maybe for some of you, not all of you, group number 2, but for some of you, hidden enemies has always been an issue in your life. You've always seemed to have someone who wants to talk behind your back. You always seem to have someone who's jealous of you, or someone who wants to slow down your success or your movements. So group number 2, this probably doesn't come as a surprise to you that this energy is the one that would set you off towards your villain origin. Now let's see. So that's kind of the opening dilemma here, this hidden enemy. Now let's see what the lesson is that must be, that's going to unfold. What is the lesson here of hidden enemies? Expanse. I'm hearing from Spirit right now, group number 2. Enemies are everywhere. But it shouldn't take you away from your growth, from your expansion of your consciousness. It shouldn't take you away from seeing all the beauty around you, for you walking in the life exactly as you are. Wow, Spirit's coming in loud and clear for you, group number 2. There will be enemies. Spirit says there will be. Because Spirit is saying that you are a very powerful person. You are about your, you are about your wisdom. Like, there's something about your wisdom here. It's something about the strategy that you use, the strategic moves you have that, of course, are going to make people jealous. It's almost as if you're too good to be true in many areas of your life, especially your career, especially when it comes to your relationship success even. Like some of you, if you are in a relationship, people admire that relationship. If you are doing well at work, people see your trajectory to becoming a leader. Or if you are a leader already, they see you even glowing up even more. So group number 2, know that these hidden enemies have good reasons. Excuse me. They have good reasons. They have eyes on you and all of your success. So who are you exactly? Like, what is it? Like, what is your identity that these people, how do people see you, group number 2? Oh, okay. That makes sense. The Oracle and the Magic Guardian. Yes, you are powerful, group number 2. They see you as a powerful, not only a powerful psychic, but you are a powerful channel. Some of you work in such a specific way with spirit. I'm getting that some of you lead ceremonies. Some of you do a lot of ancestral work. I'm getting here that specifically some of you might be into brujeria. You might be a bruja, or you may be a witch. You may have an actual coven, some of you. Some of you might be a priestess. There's different titles coming through here, you all, but you work with plant medicine. You do ceremonies, you help people heal. You receive a lot of important information through plant medicine, group number 2. So some of you receive very important downloads while engaging in plant medicine. Now, all of this is like, fluid in terms of like who you are, but you have some kind of oracle ability. If for some of you, I'm hearing that some of you are probably saying right now, well, I'm very much into my religion. I'm very much into the church. This doesn't sound like me. But I've got to tell you, Spirit is also pointing out to me that some of you are very powerful within your religion. So if you are Christians, they're showing me that you have leadership positions in the church, that you're very close to the Christ doctrine. Almost like some of you, if you were Catholic, maybe you thought about becoming a nun or a priest at some point in your life. There's a way in which some of you I'm seeing are deep, powerful. You do deep, powerful praying, like and laying of hands. So for some of you, I thought you might, want to click off because you're like, oh, this is too like occult for me, and I'm really into my church. But I'm seeing you here. I'm also seeing you here too. Like spiritual power can happen under any kind of practice. And so I'm seeing that you are the oracle, but you're also the magic guardian here. Like you teach people how to unlock that within themselves. And for some of you, especially the one that I'm kind of getting here, the Spirit's showing me your involvement with the church, or maybe more traditional religion like Christianity. They're showing me that maybe, and now this is going to get really specific, but for those of you who are part of the church, maybe Christian, Catholic, and any of those religions that fall kind of adjacent to that, they're saying that you may have also discovered that you have a talent with reading tarot cards, channeling messages, channeling, I don't know what that word was about, channeling spirits' wishes. Like you are actually channeling angels. Some of you might even be channeling the word of God. So you may have discovered this, and it may be somewhat new to people in your congregation. I'm hearing maybe some people disagree with the use of tarot cards, but you, I'm getting, are very powerful, group number 2, with your abilities. And I don't know if you call them psychic abilities, but you're very powerful, group number 2. And there's also some there's some concern maybe for some of you in whatever communities you're in that you are not working with God. Maybe people are saying things like, you're not channeling God, I don't know who you're channeling. And you know that you are channeling pure spirit. So that could be a wound. But here's your character, group number 2. Because I also not only picked your identities, but I also picked your character. Like, how are you showing up? How do people see you? They see you, number 1, as some of you might be a writer. You might be thinking about writing. You might do certain affirmations. I'm really connecting with someone. And if you want to comment below, I don't know if you want to, but if you are part of like traditional religion such as Christianity or Catholicism, I'm really getting that you do so much to help people with your psychic abilities. Like, you even channel affirmations and you write down these affirmations for people and you give them out to people. Like, you help people with affirmations. You might take scripture and write scripture out to help someone. You know, like somebody will come up to you and say, oh, I'm having this difficulty right now. I really feel so depressed about A, B, and C. And you'll hear them out. I see you like counseling people, and then you'll go back and you'll look through whatever religious texts you have. It doesn't have to be the Bible. Some of you might be working with the Quran, or, you know, whatever you're working with. You go back to the ancient texts and you pull out things that are meaningful for that person. You write them down in a card or a letter and you send it to them. You're such a high vibrational person, so compassionate, group number 2. So if you don't think that this is something that you're doing now in your life and you're wondering if this group is yours, it could be a past life that you've done this in as well. Like, if this resonates with you on some level, but it doesn't sound like it's current, it might be from a past life. You're also a storyteller. You have this ability to like bring your experiences into a relevant example so that you can help teach people. And you teach people also, I'm getting through stories that are in religious texts. So you may tell stories, you may tell parables, I think that's what they're called. You may even story tell to young children. Like, you may do this in a professional way as well. And then you are also just the epitome of the divine feminine. If you are in the feminine body, you know this. You are the epitome of the divine feminine. Like, many people who are around you in your spiritual community see you as an angel, see you as a goddess angel. That's what I'm hearing. They see how beautiful you are, how compassionate you are, how wise you are, how patient you are. And if you are in the masculine body, they see you as the embodiment of a whole man. They see you as a true man, someone who's very connected to their feminine side in terms of their feelings and their emotions. You don't, regardless of your sexuality, they see you as someone who's in touch with emotions, with feelings, and they see you as someone who's so patient and compassionate and upright. So regardless of who you are, gender, sexuality, people see you as a light worker, as a teacher, a divine teacher, the teacher of the sacred, group number 2. So what is the history around this villain origin story? Like, how did it come about? We've got Queen of Swords in reverse. We've got Queen of Pentacles. And we also have the Temperance. Wow. Look at all this these court cards and the major arcana Temperance. You know, group number 2, You're a very successful person. I don't get a sense that you, I don't get a sense that you suffer financially. In fact, I get a sense that you are able to look at all of your accomplishments, all of the ways in which your life has been blessed as a Queen of Pentacles. You have the ability to reflect back and see all those places where Spirit has walked beside you and made you a victor of life. I'm seeing that. Many of you are very grateful to Spirit. You have prayers and gratitude that you're always constantly saying to Spirit because you see how blessed your life is, group number 2. You have that temperance, like you're able to just keep one foot in the water and one foot on land, and you're able to pour from cup to cup without feeling overwhelmed, because you do this all for Spirit, in service of Spirit. But here's an interesting thing, this Queen of Swords. Queen of Swords in reverse, you know, she doesn't always see quite clearly, Queen of Swords in reverse. And some of it is resentment. You know, like, I think that the Queen of Swords in reverse, she can have a lot of thoughts that are buried in the past, things that she didn't forgive, things that she wish would have taken a different, there's something just about her that stays in her head about some things that she perceived were mistakes that she made. I'm kind of getting, group number 2, that your villain origin story begins in your head. Very interesting. It begins as someone who has a lot of self-critical thoughts, someone who thinks they're not good enough, but they're doing all of this beautiful work. They're perceived as being so compassionate, so loving, but there's something they don't see about themselves. There's something that we have to find out. But this card is going to show you what is your kryptonite. So your kryptonite, this is your kryptonite card. It says, you know, so kryptonite meaning what is your weakness as a villain? What is the weakness of your wound even? So we have wisdom in play. And it says here, our intuition knows more than we do. So how is this kryptonite for you and your wound? I think that what has happened for you, group number 2, or maybe a pattern that begins to happen, is your intuition shows up and says, I think this is this. And based on some limiting belief that you have about how you receive all of your wisdom and information, you think that it's going against Spirit to utilize your intuition. This is what I'm hearing. So take it if it resonates. But how that plays out is that you're not using your intuition as a gift from Spirit. You're using your intuition because you feel like it's in spite of Spirit, you have this intuition. Do you get what I'm saying? Like, there's some way in which you need to bring in your full psychic abilities. That means your intuition. That means you seeing and channeling. It is these are legitimate gifts from Spirit. That's what I'm hearing. And you've been maybe taught or criticized in some way that these are not legitimate gifts. These are not gifts from God. And God's here saying, yes, it is. So this is where your villain origin story happens, because you think that maybe your powers don't come from God. You question that often. You're in your head about it, while at the same time you feel the purity of what's coming through, and that you find that this purity even helps people, group number 2. So let's go to the tarot. Very interesting, group number 2. Let me know in the comments if this resonates with you. I know it feels very specific. But I feel like this is a story for more than one person. You know, you were born with these powers, group number 2. Look at that. Look at that. Those powers, these insights, they've blessed you, group number 2. Quite literally, you are such a valuable member of people's friendship, family group. People love celebrating around your abilities. Some people feel literally like they've been set free by what you've shared with them. You've also received so many blessings from Spirit ever since you started sharing your abilities with others. And Spirit is saying here to not let anyone take that away from you. To not let anyone sit there and deconstruct your powers just so that they can feel better about themselves. They want you to know that you can advocate for yourself. You can take action to make sure that you are not being misunderstood or people are not deliberately trying to twist the work that you do. Yeah, at the bottom of the deck is the Ace of Cups. It's such a beautiful offering that you have. Look at that. You've got the 10 of Cups right after that. It's a blessing to not only your family and your friends, but your whole entire community. So they're asking you, still from the bottom of the deck, Hangman, to take a moment to really receive all of the appreciation that you get from others. Receive that in a deep way so that you can change your perspective, your inner critic, about what you're doing. I know that some of this inner critic comes from other people and their voices get amplified, group number 2. But Spirit is saying here that you are blessed and that the gifts you have are part of your blessing. So what's Spirit's final advice here? I love it. Spirit's like, you know what? Learn how to quiet that inner critic and just dance, just move, just enjoy yourself, just be in your light, be in your love, be in your compassion, have joy, fun, happiness. You're already receiving the blessings, group number 2. You're financially blessed. You're blessed through community and your work. Just enjoy, just dance, do something to shift your vibration. And for many of you, it is dancing. It's some kind of movement. And as you engage in that, you are going to feel better about this situation. You're not going to allow this wound to fester because you see all of the gifts here, all of the right work that you're doing with those gifts. So group number 2, once again, such a powerful, powerful group. Thank you for joining me. If this resonates, please comment below. Please like the video. If you haven't already, please subscribe and click that bell so that you know when I upload new videos. But I'm really happy you joined me here. And wherever you are, I hope you're having a beautiful day. Take care. Peace. Hello, group number 3. So you chose the Shroud card. Let me show it to you up front, up close. The Shroud card. Hopefully you could see it. Just a little bit of reflection happening. So this Shroud card, it says here, and these are like gaming cards. I didn't even realize it until I got the deck, and I was all like, you know what, I'm still loving this. So the Shroud card says, you instantly lose all memories of your past. You retain all skills, all levels and abilities. You may only recover your memories through a wish or divine intervention. So group number 3, in terms of your villain origin story, the story starts out with you losing something, a great loss. Now, this loss could also be like grieving loss, bereavement. Like you might have lost a person, you might have lost something or someone very special to you. And hence wearing that shroud, it kind of reminds me of like the grieving widow, like, you know, there's that veil over them so that people won't see their tears. There's something about you also kind of like keeping this hidden, but you're in a lot of, there's some kind of deep loss that you're trying to navigate, group number 3. And this loss can only be, how do you say, reconciled through, it says either through a wish or divine intervention, which is very interesting, group number 3, because that means that, you know, if it is grieving a loss, the wish would be for that person to come back, right? Or to retrieve the thing that was lost. But divine intervention can also be someone assisting you with moving through the grief, like therapy, or going to a spiritualist, or, you know, doing some other work that's self-healing. So this shroud in your villain origin story, that wound starts with grief. Now, if this isn't your experience, group number 3, you could do one or two things. You can check out the other groups, or you could still listen to this and listen to it as if it was a past life, because some of that did come through for group number 1. Now, it could be a past life that I'm like revealing here that kind of leads up to your current life. So we may have that as part of the reading, or this could be your current life, like you're going through some kind of grief right now. So that's your opening dilemma, this loss, this grief, group number 3. Now, what is the lesson that you have to learn around this grief? Venus undone. When I see Venus undone, it's talking about being able to emerge in your divine feminine. So if you're already in the feminine body, this is connecting with your sensuality, connecting with authentically who you are, not who others want you to be, but with who you are, your wild self, your wild divine feminine. You know, the part of you that doesn't have, that has its own rules, that wants to be free, that wants to be liberated, that wants to excel in its own garden. So for some reason, this loss, the lesson here has been that it's cut you off from your sensuality. It's cut you off from your expression, your divine feminine expression. If you are male embodied, non-binary, same meaning for you in terms of maybe you've disconnected from your compassion, things that, feelings, things that often are associated with the divine feminine. It's left you a little disconnected in the heart center. So take with this what you will, but the Spirit is showing that it has this grief, this wound has cut you off from certain parts of your body, like feeling embodied even in a sensual, sexual way. So who are you? Who are you? Like, how do people see you, group number 3? See your seeds grow. It's very interesting because this person in the Venus undone picture has a lot of blooming spring flowers. So spring could mean something, just as a side note for some of you. But when it comes to your identity and how other people see you, they see you as someone who does a lot to set up their life in a particular way. You know, like you follow, this is just a channeled message, you follow the rules, you follow society's rules. You plant your seeds properly to make sure that you're doing seasonal planting so that you can reap the reward in the right season. You very much strike me as someone who is with order. You like order. You like to rely on the science of everything. Some of you might be a scientist or in STEM, or there's some analytical way in which you approach your life. You plan it. You see the seeds are sown very well so that you can reap in the proper time. Some of you may very well quite literally be gardeners or do something with the environment. For others of you, I'm seeing that you're a master of organizing your life. Like, in a way, it borders on control, but it's a good kind of control. Like, you keep yourself grounded this way. Now, how do other people see you? Let's continue that. So group number 3, you are also perceived as a liberator. You're perceived as someone who lives freely, someone who there's something here about the way that you manage your life. It keeps it going. Like, you found a secret to life. Like, you understand that if you do these certain set of things, maybe like if you take care of yourself in a certain way, you can keep your health at a certain level, or your anxiety at a certain level, or you don't have to deal with depression because you do certain things to take care of yourself. And in many ways, group number 3, you're seen as someone who's quite proficient at this. Like, you're seen as someone who's living their life in a very free, Venus undone. Like, you live life freely. Like, you allow yourself to be in your feelings, be in your sensuality. You've also got the beggar here. It's like someone who confronts empowerment at the level of physical survival. Awakened spiritual authority of humility, compassion, self-esteem. I get that you're very humble, even though you live such a very aligned life. You're very humble about how you do things, but people see that you reap the rewards of this life, like setting up your seeds so they can grow, knowing that whatever you have is coming in. Like, you very much are about the harvest, about prosperity, about reaping good outcomes. And you are also seen as a warrior. Very interesting. You're seen as someone who's highly skilled, someone who's tough with their will. Like, you really, when you have your mind set on something, you go after it, group number 3. And people rarely see you struggle. It's almost like you sit down and you decide, I'm going to do this goal. What is it going to take for me to do it? What do I need to read or study or research? And then you sit down and you do those things. You're very I'm hearing the word mechanical in that way, like in a good way. Like, you're very you fixed. Like, you might even be a fixed sign, but you're able to like manifest clearly, and you know how to do the things that you're ready to do. Now, I don't know how this is bridging with loss or with grief, but let's continue. So let's go to the story. Like, what happened? We have 7 of Cups here. The Tower. Oh, we're getting to what happened. The Chariot. The Magician. It had to do with a choice. That's what I'm hearing from Spirit, group number 3. A choice that you made. Or a choice you didn't make. There was somebody, either someone's choice or your own, that led to a Tower moment. And with the Chariot here, it felt like something had to be done urgently, like it was almost as if a choice was made, the result happened, and someone had to come in and immediately make a decision. And with that decision, you had to utilize all of your power as a magician. You got the Magician card here, and this magician looks like they're in motion. So what it's saying to me, group number 3, if this was the past, there was some kind of decision that was made that you had to course correct rather quickly. And you may have used some of your powers. Powers can mean anything. It can mean your actual powers, like your psychic powers, or it could mean that you had to use some of your own resources, materials to rectify the situation. You had to use your magic to resolve the situation rather quickly. Now, group number 3, that could have happened in your current life, or it could have happened in the past. But for some reason, this results in some kind of loss for you. Now, what's your kryptonite here? The unknown. Look at that, group number 3. It says, knowing the unknown. I get a sense, now this might sound specific, but we're talking about your villain origin story. We're talking about a wound that happened. So if it isn't current, this might be about a past life. But the unknown, that unknown was part of the situation. Like what gave you a weak position was that you were not 100% sure what brought on this tower moment. You know that someone's negligence, brought on the tower moment, but you're not 100% sure like what happened. And there was something unknown, but you needed to offer your magic to it. You know what I mean? Like there was something that you set out to help, a situation you set out to help, group number 3. But in helping that situation, you may not have had all of the information. Now, I'm hearing for some of you, this is very current. Like you promised someone to help them, and then you realize you didn't have all of the information, and that helping them actually would have been against your values. Or you promised someone to help them, and then when you got all the information, you realized they were guilty of something, or whatever it was. It put you in a position of loss because, well, we're going to check it out with the cards. Somehow something happened by you not knowing all the facts. Group number 3, something happened. Spirit is saying something happened to your reputation, some kind of loss happened. What was the loss, Spirit? What? Can you clear that up, Spirit? Like, what was unknown? What happened? Oh, we've got the... Sorry, y'all, I didn't take that intro card out. What happened? Could have something to do with tarot. Since that title card did come out. Upside down High Priestess and the 5 of Wands. You didn't trust your intuition. Something in your intuition was telling you that you didn't have all the information. But, you know, I get a sense that someone wanted to convince you that something had to be done in this finite amount of time. There was some urgency to something, and you would rather have waited. You have a Star card here. You have the King of Cups here. You also have a Page of Swords here. At the bottom of the deck is a 3 of Wands. So, you know what I'm getting here, group number 3. this, whatever was the outcome of your decision to be helpful or to assist someone, and you realized you didn't have all the information, it put you in a position of not trusting your intuition. It also led to some dissension with people in the community. It kind of sent you to a place where you felt a lot of, like you may have been feeling a lot of depression around this, or anxiety, or frustration, anger, a number of different emotions that just didn't make you feel like you're in alignment. So the Star card is talking about you taking care of yourself, like getting back to feeling grounded. I would say typically that this could be another person, this King of Cups, but I really actually think it's you, group number 3. I think that you had to restabilize yourself. You had to understand what your true feelings and intentions were over the whole situation, even though it feels like a dramatic situation. Like, it just felt like all this drama ensued over something where you just didn't have all of the info. It wasn't like your intention was bad, but in the end, it strikes up this idea inside of you that maybe you shouldn't be so available to help people. Hence the villain part, group number 3. Maybe you should pull back from always just assuming people's good intentions. Maybe you should be more critical or criticizing. And so that was the villain part. That was the wound part. The wound was like, I trust too much. And maybe that trust has got me into trouble. What's Spirit's solution here, group number 3? Spirit's like, and share your voice anyway, and share what you're doing anyway, and keep doing what you're doing anyway. The ever unfolding rose. Again, Spirit is like, these were innocent mistakes, innocent lessons that had to be learned, but don't let it stop you from being the dynamic, unfolding, ever powerful, I'm trying to get this one card, Venus that you are, group number 3. Like, there's something about your power. There's something about who you are and how you walk in the world. It's like a blooming rose. It's very sensual. It's very beautiful. There's something about whatever took place. It made you like hide yourself. Do you see that, group number 3? It made you put a shroud over your head. It made you like dim your light. And Spirit is like, no, share your light anyway, group number 3. Share who you are anyway. Be bold. Say what you think anyway. Even if you supported someone who didn't need the support, or some kind of mistake was made that was kind of a public mistake, just recover from it and keep doing the work. Keep doing the work. Keep being out there, group number 3. I love how Spirit just comes in at the last part of this and says, and this is what you need to do to heal. So group number 3, I felt like out of all the groups, yours, it just feels like it's a change of mind. You got to change your mind, because Spirit is saying what you're doing is fine. It's just that you trusted the wrong person and those things happen. So I hope this was helpful. I hope that this was even clear as a topic, your villain origin story. Let me know in the comments. And if you have ideas for different readings, please write them in the comments too, and I'll read through them and get to them. I love those ideas. I'm trying to think of new and different pick a cards. And I'm really so grateful that you took the time to watch this. I'm hoping wherever you are, you're doing well. And if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you want to keep connecting with me and my readings, please subscribe and click the bell so you'll know when those readings are happening. Otherwise, I wish you a good day. Take care, group number 3.